Close your eyes. There has just been a case of domestic abuse in your neighbor's house. Open your eyes. Who do you think the victim was? Did you think of a man? 83% of my classmates ages 18 to over 25 reported not knowing that 1 in 7 men are victims of domestic violence in a survey conducted on April of 2020. I have done extensive research and have witnessed some of these issues firsthand. In the wave of gender equality, as a society, we've left men behind in some aspects. Today, I will mention how men can be victims, the effects of absent fathers on modern men and boys that follow them well into adulthood, and finally, ways in which we can support boys that will eventually turn into men facing these issues. Men are often thought of as strong, and that connotation leads us to think that they are perpetrators or that they can get over anything. But men can be victims too. In fact, men can be victims of domestic abuse. 1 in 7 men are victims of intimate partner violence, according to the CDC's National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. Most first-time victimization occurs by the age of 25, with many victims first experiencing the violence before the age of 18. Not only for intimate partner violence like domestic abuse, but also sexual violence and stalking. So let's sit back and think about what this means for a minute. If most of the violence is being experienced before the age of 18, this means that boys as young as 16 or 17 or even younger are experiencing intimate partner violence, sexual violence, and stalking. But nobody has told about it. We don't hear a lot about it. And we haven't trained our boys to stay safe and we haven't taught them how to cope with this if this does happen to them. But what is most shocking is that when men are abused as adults, they only have 2 places to run in the whole country. When they are abused either by their male counterpart or female counterpart, there are only 2 shelters. According to the Associated Press, as of 2017, there is 1 shelter in Texas by the Family Place at Work and another one in Arkansas that was brought up in 2015 by Patty Duncan, the director of Family Violence Prevention. Duncan said about the shelter, victims can talk about how it felt to be physically hit and not feel emasculated. Oftentimes when talking about domestic violence against men, we forget the embarrassment factor. Men underreport violence against them because they are afraid of being embarrassed, that they won't be believed, or they will be ignored. So now men aren't only embarrassed and ashamed, but also homeless because they are too scared to go back to where they're being abused. Men are also victims of suicide. The data briefed by the CDC and U.S. Department of Human Services from April of 2016 says men have the highest suicide amongst the general population. Men 45 and 65 have the highest rate amongst other males in general. So again, let's think about what this means for a minute. This means that either your father or grandfather is at the highest risk for suicide, yet we don't have resources to treat the suicide or the suicide thoughts. And we don't think even to extend a hand or ask them how they're doing. Not only are men victims to suicide and domestic violence, but also to fatherlessness. I will give statistics and effects on modern boys and men. Millennials and Gen Z have the highest rate for fatherlessness. In fact, right now, 21% of children are growing up with no parents. 1 in 5, according to the U.S. Census Bureau for 2019. Here are the effects of fatherlessness. This includes risky behavior, early childbearing, which translates to teen pregnancy, smoking, behavioral problems, and high rates of high school dropout. This is according to the annual review of sociology. But most importantly, here are the effects specifically on boys and men. I will mention 2. 1, men are less educated than women, according to the 2010 to 2019 population survey by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Women hold 57% of the bachelor degrees now. Another one, socioeconomic and psychological effects last well into adulthood, but it affects boys more, or it's more pronounced in boys, if the father leaves in the early childhood, according to the annual review of sociology. Although it's true that the effects of an absent father can be minimized if the mother has a higher income or if she has a good support system, most of the families that have only a mother as the head of the family experience poverty, which means that the effects of being fatherless will haunt the children well into adulthood. This is according to the same annual review of sociology. And this is why we need to help our boys and children. I will mention possible solutions. One of them is enhanced social approaches. There should be scholarships targeted specifically to boys and boys of fatherless homes to increase the college attendance. This would ease the poverty of being fatherless. According to the U.S. Census Bureau of Current Population Survey for 2019, about half, 47.7% of children under the age of 6 in families with a female householder were in poverty. We can also kill the stigma that comes with men being vulnerable. We can inform men how to report violence against them. HelpGuide.org encourages men to not retaliate, as they can be in risk of being arrested and or removed from their home. HelpGuide.org puts so much emphasis on not retaliating because it's such a different case scenario for when men are being abused as opposed to women. Men are often thought to be the perpetrator, which is why they're often almost immediately or removed from their home. The issues we can also teach in sex ed and health education about reciprocal relationship violence. We can teach our boys what boundaries should not be crossed with other people and what boundaries should not be crossed with them. The issues mentioned above are mostly thought to be female issues, but they are also men's issue and are often forgotten. Anyone can fall victim to intimate partner violence, suicide, and fatherlessness. But the effects of these issues fall heavier on men. Boys with behavioral problems turn into men or adults with behavioral problems. Men have the highest rates of suicide of the general population. And intimate partner violence is seen as a minor or a joke when it comes to men. The rates and statistics are not just numbers. They're people. They're someone's dad, someone's grandpa, someone's kid. In fact, they're just someone. This is not a gender issue. This is a people's issue. It's easy to ignore until someone you love is affected by any of these issues, and there's no resources or anywhere to go. We have to help our boys and men. Thank you.